everyone, and welcome to this shred guitar lesson. So in this lesson we're going to be learning how to improvise fast on guitar. Now I've recently released a new course called How to Improvise Fast Shred Guitar Licks, which you can check out in the link below in the description. But this lesson's all free. So in this lesson we're going to be discovering some of the materials that you'll find in the course and some of the methods, so hopefully you can see what you could gain from it. So when we're improvising normally on guitar, we can keep track of each note we're playing. So say we're playing a blues improvisation, we could play something like, and there we can keep track of each note we're playing because they're going by fairly slowly, so we've got time to think about, okay, which note shall I play next, what technique shall I use, and how shall I play it? But when we're playing shred, it's a whole different ballgame, because now we've got lots more to think about. You might be playing 10 or 12 notes every second and your brain physically can't compute that much information. So we need a different strategy. We can't just go and improvise and say, okay, yeah, let's just go ahead and try and think of something on the spot. It's not going to work. So most people decide to do something different, and they say, okay, well, in that case I'll learn some, pre-learned runs and licks, and I'll learn a run that goes, say, from here to here, and then this one's played with picking and everything, and you'll learn the run, and then you'll say, oh well, I can use this in my improvisations now. Every time I want to play something fast, I can put this in, right? Yeah, you can, but you probably won't get the right effect. So if you take a pre-learned run and say you're improvising, and then you think, oh yeah, I'll play something fast now, and then you put it in, and then you think, actually, it doesn't sound like it was meant to be there. It sounds like it's just been forced in, and it doesn't really fit the music, it doesn't fit the song, it doesn't fit the mood. So that's why we need a different approach. We need a system that's going to allow us to improvise at high speed and think up new runs and licks on the spot without having to stick to pre-learned patterns. Okay, so on with the lesson. Okay, so we've got a problem. We want to be able to improvise things that are fast and exciting on the guitar, but we can't because the notes are going by too quickly. So the solution to this is really nice and simple. What you need to do is use what I call building block licks. So what this is say you've got a large run that goes from, say, the low string here, the low E string, and then works its way all the way up to the high A string somewhere higher up the neck. Now say that run's got lots and lots of different notes in it. Well, you can break it up. You can break it up into small little sections of, say, between 3 and 8 notes. And then when you're improvising, you can use these little sections of 3 or 8 notes and move them around to different places on the neck to create new runs. So then you could think, say, oh, well, I want to play a run that goes from, say, here to here, and then it ends on a really cool bend, and you'd be able to do that, okay? So the first little building block lick that we're going to learn in this lesson is this. It's really nice and simple. So I've got my index finger on the 5th fret of the low E string here, and then the other fret that I'm going to use, and the fingers are, I'm going to use my 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the low E string, and then I'm going to use my little finger on the 8th fret of the low E string, okay? And I'm going to pluck the first note, and then I'm going to hammer on the next 2. So this is how it sounds. So if you haven't done a lot of fast legato before, then play that really nice and slowly at first, keep your hand relaxed, and then over time start to speed it up, okay? So once you've got the tempo up, then it sounds something like this. Okay? And then that little block will fit in pretty much any scale, okay? So we could play it, for instance, 1 octave higher. We could go, or we could play it another octave higher. We could go all the way up here. We could play it in a different scale position entirely. So say in this example, we're in A minor, and we've started here on the 5th fret. Well, we could start that same pattern on the 7th fret, but now we use different fingering to make sure that we stay in the scale. So the notes of A minor around here, we've got this one, and then we go here, and then here, and then here. So if we wanted to play the same pattern starting on the 7th fret, then we'd go here, here, and here. So that's on the 7th, 8th, and 10th frets, and now with my index, middle, and pinky fingers. And then that sounds something like this. Now we can also move these things to different strings as we do it. So for instance, this first pattern we could play on the A string. And the same same with the one here. We could go. So again, that's the same frets but on the A string. So we're playing different scale notes, but the fingerings that we used on the low E string also happen to fit in the scale on the A string as well. So we're just mirroring it across to the next string. So now we've got this one building block and we've moved it around to a few different places, okay? So now we're going to explore how to improvise with this. So let's say you wanted to play a improvised run that went from here and you wanted to go up 1 octave to the 7th fret on the D string. You could do that using this system. This is one of the ways you could do it. So there, I'm just playing that first little building block of 3 notes there. And then I'm playing it again on the A string. And then I'm playing the 7th fret on the D string, which is an A note, so that finishes it off in the next octave. Okay? Now, there are more ways we could do that using what we've already learned. So remember, we played this building block here as well. So we can combine that with what we've already played to create a longer run. Now that's not all we could do. Say we were improvising and we wanted to stay in one position for a bit longer. We could play the lick twice on each string before we change strings. So we could go like this. And again, we could do the other variation. So as we can see, that sounds pretty cool already, but there's even more we could do. We could do something like this. So there, what I'm doing is playing up 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3 on the A string, and then I'm playing that again before I then shift up positions and do the same thing. Like that, okay? So already there's lots we can do just in one position. All we've done is take one little 3-note building block and then we've combined it with itself in different positions to create some really cool licks. And once you practice this enough and you create some of your own combinations, you'll be able to do it on the fly when you're improvising. So you won't even have to think about what you're playing. You'll just say, okay, I want to play a shred run that goes from here all the way up to here. I want to play it with legato and I want to do it right now. So then you can, and you don't have to think about which notes you're using. So you could go. And then you can do it, okay? And you don't have to think about each individual note because you can treat each building block as one thing rather than 3, 4 or 8 separate things. So the building blocks that we use are like the words we use when we speak. And then the way we combine them is like we're combining them to create a sentence, okay? So we're only using one building block here and there's so much we can do with it. But when you've learnt just a few and you've done a couple of variations with them and things, there's absolutely no limits to what you can do with this system. It's really nice and easy. You could even try creating some of your own building blocks if you like. You could take a simple one position lick, something like and you could move it around like that. You know, you can take any technique, you could take any scale, you could take any position, you could take any number of notes, and if it's a simple thing that fits in one position, then that's a building block that we can use, okay? So we'll take our original building block again, which was this. And then we can move that further around the neck. So let's try playing something that's a bit higher up, shall we? We could play, for instance, up here on the neck. We could go, so I'm on the 7th fret, the 9th fret and the 10th frets here. So I'm doing the same thing but 1 octave higher. And then if you know your 3 notes per string scale shapes, or indeed any other scale shape, then you can fit this within that scale. So then the next string goes like this. And then the next string. So now we're on the B string and we're playing the 8th fret, the 10th fret and the 12th fret. And then we can play the same string, the same frets on the high E string. Like that, and then we can use that to improvise. So we could go something like. So I was using a few more building blocks at the end there to add a little ending to our variation, okay? So now we've got these basic shapes, it's all one building block, but we've moved it around a few times, so now we can combine everything. So this was the first thing that we learned, and then we had to go at playing it in the next scale position up. So now we're starting on the 7th fret and doing 7, 8, 10 on the low E and the A strings. And then we decided to go here. So this is the same as what we played initially, but it's 1 octave higher, so it's on the D string, 7th, 9th and 10th frets. And then obviously we repeat that on the G string. And then again the 8th, 10th and 12th frets on the B and E strings. So then we could combine that and we can improvise within that shape to create some really cool runs on the spot. So I don't know what I'm going to play next, but let's see if I can come up with a cool little shred run that goes from here down to there on the spot, and we're using that one building block again, okay? So we could go... And there we go, really nice and easy. And obviously when you're practicing combining these, then you get quicker and quicker at doing it. So the building block really just becomes one thing. You don't have to think about each individual note. It's like you can just think, okay, play the building block. And it just happens. And you don't even have to think about the notes you're using. So when you get to that stage, it's like you're speaking. When I'm speaking to you now, I don't know exactly what I'm going to say next. I've got the general idea in my head, but I'm not pre-composing to say each individual little thing that I'm going to say. I'm just using the words that I already know and combining them in new ways to create something different. And that's exactly what we're doing here. So you already know how to do this when you speak. It's just a matter of applying it to the guitar, okay? And the added benefit of learning how to combine these different patterns all over the fretboard is that when you're practicing combining them, you're also getting better at the patterns. So you get faster as you have fun creating new music. Okay, because after all, speed is just a byproduct of repetition. The more you repeat it over hours, weeks, months, years, however long, the faster you get. So it's like a fun little practice method already built into this system. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that little method, and if you'd like to discover more, then you can click the link in the description below to go to the course page and find more about what it's all about. Okay, so again, I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you'd like to see more of my free lessons, then you can just subscribe, and on the course page there's also a link to my blog where I post free lessons and articles and reviews and everything like that. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next video.